Alrighty, well, good morning, dear ones. We are SOTU, and this is SOTUesday for the 23rd day of May in 2017. All right, we just titled this before we began in order to be able to, what shall we say, keep an argument from happening around here, because every time we keep starting to speak about or explore the area of gender forgiveness, we find a little bit of dynamic of competition and, in a way, a certain dynamic of opportunities for forgiveness that need to be faced. And so Adrian's going, well, what are you talking about? Well, that happened before that. Yes, well, all right. But we use examples from the dynamics of what are offered. And so when we are talking in the dynamic of the present, and as we speak to you for the moment. Whenever you are receiving this, it is appropriate for you to begin to understand that the journey to forgiveness certainly begins with the dynamic of healing. And the dynamic of healing begins with the dynamic of choice, of wishing to move beyond, and this is a dynamic of human choice. This is a dynamic of transformative type of choice where you make a decision based upon the best possible outcome, not willing to take the dynamics of, what shall we say, old pieces of reality and allow yourself to be limited by old beliefs. And so what we are seeking to do is we are seeking to, in the very beginning of this whole dynamic, have you understand that both the masculine and the feminine, both genders have been deeply damaged by this journey to individuality. And you call it damage, but in a way it was just a dynamic of a transformation from a collective consciousness into a dualistic reality which seemed to evolve in a dynamic of incremental choices made over lifetimes, over millennium, over lifetimes of civilizations. All right, so understand that this dynamic of separation, the basic purpose was to have you move into a place of individuality. We have said before, we'll say it again, we'll say it now. In the beginning of consciousness, you had a collective awareness, a primal awareness, a connection with nature, a connection with spirit, a connection with each other, and therefore a connection with the dynamic of the oneness of your entire world. You were one with Gaia consciousness. But just as every child moves and grows, so too as a species did you move and grow. Just as every child needs to separate from the mother and father, so too you needed to separate from the mother, from the father. You needed to separate from your knowing of your oneness with the divine. You needed to begin to find the ability to allow yourself to realize that you had all of the potential, all of the ability that you all have now. Now, you may think that you have degraded your reality, and in many ways you have. But we would also say to you, you are emotionally, you are mentally more able than you have ever been before in order to transform your reality into a reality of peace with enough for all. Peace for enough for all. Think about that for a moment or two, what the possibilities might be around that for you personally. If you never had to worry anymore about surviving from month to month, if you never had to worry about competition, if you never had to worry about that dynamic. And technologically, you are reaching that point where pretty soon you're going to have that choice. Now, again, there is this whole dynamic of duality where so many of you are looking at the negative possibilities that you do not spend any time looking at the positive. possibilities. So many of you in your reality believe that there has to be a cataclysm, that there has to be a crash in order for things to change. Well, with each dynamic of that belief, you make it more likely to happen. So take responsibility for the things that you think and feel. Begin to understand that you are all victims, masculine and feminine, male and female, in many ways. And it is only when you begin to realize that you have allowed yourselves to have all of your power taken away from you, and you realize that in fact what they've had you doing, and we talk about they, that's not a real they, and we'll go into that at some point or other if we want to be really gloomy and doomy, but why give that any energy? The dynamic is that you are all in a very confused state, and as long as you are creating through confusion, that power, that empowerment that you have is just going out into the dynamic of this consensus reality, and eventually it builds up energetically to a point where it begins to reflect back on you with the dynamics of negativity, because you are being asked with each succeeding moment, with each succeeding crisis, with each preceding and dynamic that is occurring in your world, and eventually it just gets so confused that there is just this feeling of frustration, because you know that the reflections of your world are antithetical to the dynamics of what you think and feel. You are being pushed to the point. We are being asked to push back. And we say to you, be careful with the dynamics of your pushback, because you will never be able to out-bully the bully. But the bully is not very creative. The bully is not very imaginative. The bully can only repeat things that it has seen and heard. It is not creative. And so the bully can be outsmarted at every turn. But the bully doesn't wish you to know that. You already have the empowerment. All you have to do is step back from your old feelings. Step back from the old manipulation. Step back from the television set. Begin to question everything. Spend perhaps an hour more on the internet, researching those things that you hold to be true. Look at the other side. Do not just poo-poo it. See the other side of the dynamic and realize that primarily your healing begins, because this confusion is the end result of many, many, many years of you being disempowered. So you are moving to a place of awareness, a place of realization that you are being lied to at every turn. Question what we say. We have no problem with you questioning the things that we say. Question everything. Begin to make that assessment. Begin to realize that you are being divided by race, by sex, by national origin. Do not allow it. You are of one species. You are of the earthly human race. And you are creators. All you have to do is begin to remember that. Begin to allow that the separation and the pain of the separation was purposeful, in that it brought you to this place of empowerment. In the garden experience, you had a collective relationship with all that is. In this experience now, you have an individual relationship with all that is, which was the purpose of the journey. Forgiveness begins with understanding why the hurt happened. Think about it. We are SOTU, and this is SOTUesday for the 23rd day of February of May in 2017. There's no snow on the ground out there, really. We love you all so very, very much, and so until the next time we close, sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy.